So I will call to order this meeting of the Greenfield Conservation Commission at 6:30 p.m. on October 24th, 2023. All four conservation commissioners are currently present. And just to note that since this is being held virtually, if any technical interruption occurs and the meeting suddenly ends, we won't resume it, and all items will be automatically continued to the next scheduled meeting date. And as you may have just heard, this meeting is being recorded by the Conservation Commission. And if anyone else is recording the meeting, you're required to let me know. And hearing none, let's go to the first item on our agenda, which is approval of meeting minutes for October 10th, 2023.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from October. Sorry, what did you just say?
October 10th.
10th, sorry. Yeah. 2023.
I'll second that.
All right, a motion to approve is seconded. Any other discussion on those minutes? Thought they were very good and very thorough. All right, hearing no other discussion, we'll do a roll call vote on approving those minutes. Erica?
Aye.
Kristen?
Aye.
Fletcher?
Aye.
All right, and I'm also an aye, so the minutes are approved. All right, so on our agenda, we have a public meeting and two public hearings. So I'll just go in order of the agenda here. First, we have a public meeting request for determination of applicability foundation replacement at 177 to 179 Chapman Street, map 69, lot 32. And the agenda says the existing foundation on the rear wall of the house is being proposed to be removed and replaced. And do we have someone here for that project to talk about that one?
Yes, Anthony Martino.
All right, hi.
Hi.
So I'm gonna share. I'm not sure. Are you able to see what we're looking at as well? Or are you just
Do you?
well, I'm not sharing anything yet.
Okay.
I just didn't know if you were like audio only on, because I saw.
No, I can see four people.
Okay, all right. So I'm gonna share my screen, and then we'll just go through. This was the RDA application that was submitted. And maybe while I'm showing these things, you could just talk a little bit about the project, and I'll bring up the site visit photos as well.
Yeah, we're just replacing the rear wall of foundation about 40 feet. It shouldn't impact anything but directly at the foundation, and maybe where the machinery is about 20 feet behind that. The old foundation is caving in. We just need to replace it with a new foundation.
Okay, and so I have this sketch of the project area.
Yep.
Is the parking area, is that all paved, and does that go right up to the foundation?
It is, and it almost all the way up to the foundation.
And you said it is paved?
It is paved, yes.
Okay. Here's a map showing how close it is to Maple Brook, which it seems is dry.
Well, Maple Brook is actually encased in a concrete culvert.
That's what I thought, but it shows on the USGS maps, topo maps, it shows a stream there still, but
it's definitely an extremely big concrete culvert that runs them back.
Mm-hmm. And so here, this is the foundation. This is the area where the work would be.
Yes.
And you're replacing the brick portion, or you're digging out I assume it's concrete under the brick. And
I'm not sure what's under the brick, but we're gonna.
Okay, fair enough.
Dig down 4 feet. We'll pour a footing, pour a wall, and then just reattach it to the house.
Got it.
I'm guessing Mitch, you
That-
took this photo?
Yeah, so that's just I mean the stream's pretty dry there, but just
So
to
this
get
is this is the area that it shows as a stream on the topo
right,
map.
right.
So what I'm picturing then is a concrete culvert that runs lengthwise, like the stream runs through the concrete culvert lengthwise, and it's sort of buried under dirt or something. Or is it?
There's a good portion of there's probably a picture in there somewhere of it that sticks out of the ground. I don't know if it's
Oh, okay.
catch basin, clean out. I'm not sure how far buried it is, but it runs all the way. I'm not even sure where it starts, but it goes all the way from Walnut Street, and then all the way down to Arch, and must go under those buildings there somehow.
Got it.
That, you know, that your machinery might be behind it, but I assume you mean like on the pavement there, but not further than that, basically.
No, it'll only be one small excavator that we'll be using for machinery, and obviously a concrete truck when we need to pour. But nothing will go beyond the pavement.
And you're excavating soil, obviously, to get down there and kind of piling it next as close as possible. And did you have a plan to kind of manage the any potential sediment running down the slope there? It looks like it kind of pitches down towards the what would be
There's
the
a
stream.
towards the back, not nothing major, but I mean we could put up silt fence and bales of straw. But I don't wait any. This is going to be a quick project, and anything exposed, we would probably just cover up with some tarp.
So I'm sharing the city GIS data with the storm. Well, right now it's showing the stormwater, which is this like orange color, which is kind of confusing because it's almost the same color as the parcels. And then the green is the sewer lines. And it does show, oh no, it's gonna take a minute to reload. It shows this like stormwater culvert coming down and then ending, and then like a stream, and then like stormwater culvert starting again here. But it also shows like a sewer line going through there, which it looks like there's a sewer manhole on your property there. I think this is yours, right?
Yeah. Let me just,
I guess that could be kind of covered up too.
5178. Yeah, there's not really a stream per se back there. I mean, there's no running water. It gets wet when it rains a lot because it's obviously at the bottom of a gully between all those streets.
Mhm.
But the orange, I believe, is extended. There's nothing above ground. And I think Mitchell can probably speak better to that because he did come and look at it.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Definitely nothing running right now.
And if it's not running right now, like, I mean, I do stream stuff for work, and like all of our streams are like extremely high right now, like all year. So
Mitch, did you see like a defined channel that was just kind of dry, or was it less
well, there
obvious?
was that.
Seemed like just from the photo, it was kind of just a stretch that was especially wet, but
Yep,
that's it.
got it.
So it seems like, uh, for Wetlands Protection Act purposes, it seems like it's probably definitely not a riverfront area for Wetlands Protection Act. But if if we think it's an intermittent stream, then it would be riverfront area for um, our local ordinance.
I'm just
Although,
curious if there's been has this been delineated? I mean, is there an identified bank? And if so, is there identified bordering vegetated wetland? I mean, what are the resource areas that we're looking at here?
I guess my understanding is that there has not been. I guess maybe the applicant could answer that, but I don't think there's been a like a wetland scientist out there to look at this.
Yeah, no, I think just going off of GIS.
Yeah, and I think that's mainly because this is like the project area, so there's definitely not wetlands, on the project area. So um, it seems like at most it would be buffer zone for Wetlands Protection Act if we think there are wetlands back there, or potentially riverfront area for the local ordinance and buffer zone. So I don't think we're being asked to confirm any wetlands boundaries on this one or any resource area boundaries.
Okay, so no bordering land subject to flooding or anything else. This is just
I don't think so.
buffer zone only, riverfront local. Okay.
I mean, if we think that's an intermittent stream, then that would be riverfront area for the local ordinance. Because it is within, oops, sorry, I'm gonna take it back. It is less than 200 feet from there to there.
Did anyone look at stream stats yet?
No.
Can do that really quick. I'm looking at FEMA flood too, really quick.
Anyone else have any questions off the top of their head? Fletcher, um, Erica? Um, so I guess one question, you were saying that this project, you said it'd be a pretty quick project. I don't remember if you already said like what the timeline for the whole construction project would be.
I mean, depending on weather, it shouldn't be any more than 10 days,
Okay.
hopefully quicker.
I've never done anything like this, so I had no idea how long or
The
how quick you could do it.
the actual excavation and digging should be, 5 days time, Monday through Friday,
Mhm.
between backfilling or digging and backfilling. And obviously we want to do that when it's not raining.
Mhm. And when you're done, um, there would be the same amount of like grassy area
Yes.
right next to the house after.
Yeah, right. The house is probably between the pavement and the house is probably 4 feet of grassy area.
So you're not increasing impervious area overall.
No, we'll just put it back as it is.
Yeah.
It may only be 3 feet. I'm not
Mhm.
positive, but
Yeah, I guess the main thing is if as long as it's the same after as it is now.
yep, we're not doing anything other than just fixing the foundation.
Yeah. And when you're stockpiling the soil after digging it out, are you putting that like on this parking area, or were you planning on doing that in the grass?
Um, Probably it would be in the parking area.
Mm.
I'm not 100% sure on that, because just because you need some more area to work, you couldn't put it right on
Yeah.
grass.
Could it potentially go like roughly where the car's parked, and then that's a better angle. Could it kind of go in the back corner there, do you think? Without
Yeah, well, I mean, we want to keep it as close as we can because we don't want to
Sure.
move it. That's the goal. Is the less work we do with the moving stuff, the quicker it'll all go.
Yep. And is it the case like in
Not gonna-
these pic? Oh,
I'm
sorry, go
sorry.
ahead.
I was just going to say, there's not a lot of excavation. It's just enough room to get in there and
Put the
dig it.
forms in.
Yeah,
Yeah, it does kind of slope towards the channel, let's call it. Is that right? Or would you?
it's
Back here.
like it goes towards the back, and I wouldn't say it's not excuse me, steep slope, but there is a slope back
Gentle, yeah,
toward.
got it. Yeah, I mean, it looks like what was a stream there is, pretty impacted as it is. But so far, like my only real slight, I don't know if I'd call it a concern, but is just, if the pile's there and it does rain, especially over the course of 10 days, is there something to kind of stop sediment from moving down into it? But
Yeah, like I said, we definitely don't want to be doing any of this project when there's rain in the forecast. So
Yep.
we'll pick a couple. I mean, by the time we get started, it's going to be cold out anyway. So, um,
oh yeah, what was the
Well-
rough dates of the project?
well, I'd like to do it as soon as we can, just
Okay.
to do it before winter. So this is like I get just we got to get through this process.
Mhm.
Um, but no, I don't want anything open to the weather, obviously, while we're working on the house, if
Yep.
we can help at all. So,
Hmm. Kristen, I know you were looking up some things. I don't know if you were having any luck there.
Yeah, so stream stats didn't give me any usable statistical data because the watershed area was too small, so I just moved a little further downstream. My suspicion is that it's not going to trigger perennial status. And it's also not listed as a perennial stream on the USGS topographic, so there are two things in favor of intermittent.
Yeah. So I guess, I mean, if that's what we're gonna go with, that would mean, as I said, for Wetlands Protection Act, this would be like buffer zone. Well, I guess I'm not sure where that channel is exactly. Can I measure on this map? So this house, how do I measure? I mean, I think for Mitch, is that channel that you took a picture of? Do you think that's all the way back where it says Maple Brook is here?
No, those pictures are further up. More,
Okay.
yeah, more there.
It was more, so it probably would be within like 100 feet. Geez. So again, as I was saying, at most buffer zone only for Wetlands Protection Act. But then potentially riverfront area for our local ordinance. So, when we're making a motion, I think we would have to do possibly different motions for Wetlands Protection Act and local ordinance. I guess my as Fletcher was saying, my only real concern is just be sediment getting back there if there was no rain in the forecast and you went ahead and then it washed away. So some kind of silt fence or something just to make sure it's not
Yeah, we can absolutely do that.
washing back there.
Yeah, even if it's just around the pile, backside of the pile where it's sort of possible to slide down gradient, that'd be great.
Okay. Not a problem.
So, Travis, we'd be looking for a motion under which category?
Well, if we think that, are you thinking negative determination or positive determination?
I was thinking that we're leaning towards negative, but I mean, would
Yeah.
that be for, I don't know. Can you remind us what the categories are again?
So yeah, so Mitch actually just shared a cheat sheet for motions. So I'm looking at that right now. So this is negative determinations for an RDA. I think for Wetlands Protection Act, we would probably say number 3 within the buffer zone, but will not remove fill dredge or alter an area subject to jurisdiction, and then any conditions.
And I think the one in for WPA might be a typo, unless I'm reading it wrong.
Oh, where do you see that?
And under, oh, I'm sorry, that's positive. I see it's organized into positive, negative. Got it.
And then I guess for the local ordinance, if we were doing a negative determination, I think we would have to say number 2, work is within an area subject to jurisdiction, because it would be riverfront area, which would be subject to jurisdiction.
I think 6 is for specifically
You think
local ordinance.
area work is not subject to additional review and approval? Hmm.
Oh, because there is impact. Mitch, can you explain what you mean?
Yeah, I think just meaning whatever our local process is, nothing else is required because it won't need a local NOI because for the same reason there's no alteration. Does that make sense? Just
Are you
meaning
saying that?
like he's done with our local process, with the RDA.
Basically, you're just saying the Wetlands Protection Act determination is all that's needed, right? Like there isn't going to be like a separate determination for the local ordinance that has anything beyond it. The only reason I would think number 2 though is I guess I would think number 6 would be if the resource areas were the same for for the Wetlands Protection Act and the local ordinance. But since they're in this case, they would be different if we think that's an intermittent stream, then I don't know.
I
Yeah,
kind of agree
I
because
was
I feel like
thinking 2.
it is in jurisdiction. I don't really know what 6 means unless that's for administrative approval. I feel like it's in jurisdiction, so I don't really understand what the difference is between number 2 and number 6 is, other than maybe 6 is like a minor buffer zone activity or subject to administrative approval, or
I don't think 2 is supposed to be a response to that question. Like, I think it means jurisdiction under Wetlands Protection Act.
That was what I was wondering. Was are you talking about 6 because it actually says under local ordinance?
Right.
Okay. I was wondering if that was.
Sorry, just to
Then there's-
clarify, Mitch, are these the numbered the same as the DEP guidance documents? Like,
They're numbered the same, yeah.
okay, I didn't realize it combined local and WPA. So that's kind of strange that they don't have sort of like duplicate for
Yeah, I think 6
local
is
and WPA.
just kind of a catch-all for the local
Mhm.
ordinance.
Okay. I mean, if that's the way they,
Well, so I think number 6, I think that would be for, there's some projects that are exempt from local ordinances, but
Hmm.
are required under the Wetlands Protection Act, like the Department of Transportation projects that we've had, those were exempt from any local ordinance. And so I think that's where you would use number 6, that it's not subject to review under the local ordinance because it was exempt. Whereas I think, so Mitch, what I guess what I'm saying is, on the Wetlands Protection Act form, I think we would say box 3 for the Wetlands Protection Act. But then, you know, and then if the local ordinance was the same, we would just leave it at that. But I think we would have don't we have like a separate, we can do like a separate form for the local ordinance.
I think
And I
that's how
think-
we used to do it. I'm pulling up like I'm getting the actual wording from the Form 2,
Mhm.
and it's area subject to jurisdiction under the act. Is that
That's what
is
it says
box
for
2?
number 2.
Yeah.
because I was going to say 3 for WPA and 2 for local, but if it says act on 2, then I would just suggest we vote 3, box 3, negative determination for both. That's, unless maybe we make 2 motions, but
Or I mean, we could do 6. Like if it's gonna be the same, it's gonna be the same outcome either way, right?
yeah. Well, unless order matters, I'll make a motion to issue a negative determination. Excuse me for oh no, I lost my can someone remind me the address where we're looking at here?
I think it's 177 to 179 Chapman Street.
Okay. I'll make a motion for a negative determination of 177 to 179 Chapman Street for the WPA under condition 3, work is within the buffer zone but will not remove, build, dredge, or alter an area subject to jurisdiction. And the conditions discussed with the applicant are just sedimentation barriers around any loose fill removed and stored on site.
I'll second
Second.
that.
All right, I think Erica beat you to that second. All right, so we have a motion that was seconded. Any other discussion for
Was
the
that just
wetland?
for type 3?
That was for Wetlands Protection Act, box 3.
I think we can just do both
In one motion or 2?
in one motion.
Okay. Travis, does that sound?
Well, I mean, at this point, we already did the one, so we either have to modify it or just go ahead and vote on it.
Yeah, let's vote it, and I'll just do it. Well, someone can do another one for local.
All right, is there any other discussion on the motion?
Do we want to talk about special conditions after?
Well, Fletcher mentioned special condition for the sedimentation barrier, so I think now would be the time if you wanted to add any other special conditions.
I think just given our last meeting and how we weren't really very clear with special conditions, I think maybe in the future, if other commissioners are amenable to this, just kind of talking more carefully about how we want to condition things at the meetings. I know we have some boilerplate stuff, but I mean, maybe even Mitch, could you like pull it up? Or, I mean, I don't know if you have notes, or I don't know how
I
you do
mean,
that.
Kristen, do you mean even in the case of a negative determination? What do you mean by, well, I don't want to take up the applicant's time with this part of it. So unless we're modifying the motion, maybe
It
let's
shouldn't
vote.
take more than a minute or two, but I think that we should be
Okay.
really clear if we're saying things like, what kind of
You ju-
erosion controls we're
Okay.
asking for, where the placement of stockpiled soil is, if it's on existing impervious surface area.
Mhm.
I mean, this isn't a very complicated project. So this isn't like the kind of conditions that we would normally consider, like for the last project at our last meeting that we were talking about. This would be a pretty short list, but I don't know, maybe we should just kind of get into the habit of pulling it up.
I guess I don't know. I agree on being more explicit is good. You're talking about pulling up the, like, an order of conditions boilerplate and going from there, right?
Yeah, just really quick. And even if it's just, Mitch typing in notes, I'm not asking for a final copy to be presented during the meeting, but I feel like I never see the special conditions. I feel like we talk about them and then they're just stamped and passed on to the applicant, and then we see a certificate of compliance request come through a few years later. And I was just a little bit surprised at our last meeting at how the conditions weren't really that clear. And there was nothing we could really do to hold the applicant to the standards that are typically required for. I don't want to get too deep in the
Well,
weeds about a different meeting
yeah.
that's not
I
relevant
mean,
to
I
this
have
meeting, but
I have other thoughts on that, but again, I don't know if now, but I hear you're saying. Did you want to pull up OCs to get a better sort of wording for the condition, or
I don't even know what Mitch's process is, so I don't even know if this is the right time to really like start
Yeah,
hammering through this process, but
I
I
think
just wanted to bring it up, that I just
Okay.
think that we should think through special conditions more carefully going forward.
Mhm.
So on that note, did you have, it sounded like you were talking about fill locations and specifics on the barriers. Did you want to make a suggestion there while the applicant is here?
I actually don't have any comments on that. I thought that was one of the comments that you had, Fletcher.
Well, I mean, the applicant suggested hay bales or silt fencing. To me, with this particular case, either one would be fine. Just some barrier in case of rain around the pile, and with a tarp over it, even better.
Didn't you also said something about timing the work, not necessarily with low flow conditions, but timing the work to not coincide with a significant rain event or something like that. I don't know how you would want to word that, Mitch, but
Yeah, although if it's over 10 days, I don't think our weather meteorology is that accurate, but
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
think that would be good.
Am I still on? Can I still say something?
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a good possibility there won't be a pilot at all, depending on what the soil is. If the soil has too much clay or holds too much water, we'll probably just remove it and take it away as it comes out.
so maybe we could say something like, if there is any temporary stockpiling of soil for more than X number of hours or days or whatever, I don't know what our boilerplate is, that would be stabilized with adequate. I don't know. Mitch, do you have like language on that?
The boilerplate for the RDA it's not too specific. It's just kind of, I think there's ones on, I would approve the erosion controls, and then when they come out, I'll see if I can find it, but it's not as lengthy as the order conditions boilerplate.
I think usually for soil stockpiles, it's like if it's gonna be there overnight or like more than one day, then
What I
then
thought,
there
yeah.
then there's uh like a barrier or some sort of stabilization required. So maybe we say
Well, yeah,
I was just gonna say as you said, like if you know um oh here we go.
So could we change number 4 to Wetlands Protection Act or Greenfield City Ordinance without adequate stabilization unless otherwise approved by the commission or something?
I think 4 is just stuff that's removed. I think 3 is like the stockpile during construction.
I think
I
3.
see what you're saying. Okay.
But 3 doesn't really, trying to read the other ones, but 3 doesn't really say about using any kind of barriers.
So that's why these are just the boilerplate ones, and we can add
Yeah,
we can add extra
yeah.
stuff to it. So
Why don't we take 3 and mention that the applicant would use either staked straw bales or wetland fencing. I'm sorry, siltation
so
fencing,
fence, yeah.
and make every effort to do the work when there's no rain.
And if you do, I'm asking the applicant, if you do remove, like if it's too much clay or whatever, you're gonna get, I assume, clean fill from somewhere and just
Yes. Yeah,
bring it
something
in.
that's a little bit more sandy would be ideal. That will probably happen. I'm just not positive until we dig. Hello?
Hello. I think we're all just thinking.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know if I lost you
No,
there or not.
no, that's fine. Thanks for sticking through our process here. Uh, Kristen, did any of that did any of that feel like good enough to you, or is there something else you
Absolutely.
want to see?
No, that was absolutely perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, so
I like pulling up the special conditions before we close. I think that's a good process to get it to. I know that it takes an extra couple of minutes, but
Yeah. Okay, so the two things that Fletcher said, I think, is that specifying that they would use staked straw bales or silt fence, um, and uh, trying to avoid doing construction during a rain, during predicted rain events.
Yep.
That's what I heard.
Did he? I thought he said
I-
something about where the stockpile would be.
Well, I was
Like
just saying we
on-
could take 3 and add those other items to it.
Okay.
And that one does say as far away from resource areas
Right.
as
Right.
possible.
Okay.
maybe we could even build on, staked straw bales or silt fence or other adequate erosion control barrier on approval by the agent or something like that. Just in
Yeah,
case they want to use like a wattle or something that's, if it's a flat surface and they don't want to buy a bunch of bales and silt fence, and they can't stake it in because it's on an impervious surface.
Yeah.
Maybe they could use fill
I like
truck
that.
or something like that. They can just get approval by the agent.
Mhm.
Sounds good.
Okay, Mitch,
Just
do
to
you
make
got?
sure. Yeah, we're
Yeah, go ahead.
saying definitely erosion controls or just if they're stockpiling?
I think it's
I-
probably
think-
best either way, since there's
Okay.
going to be digging. I mean, they're going to
Right.
have to be taking soil out, and even if it, gets put on a truck or something, there's probably going to be some on the ground that rain could wash away.
So then I guess the expectation would just be sort of linearly along the edge of the pervious area, enough to block any potential
Yeah.
runoff into the, okay.
All right, Mitch, is that clear?
Yep, I got it.
Okay. Any other discussion on this before voting on it? Okay, so we'll vote for the negative determination type 3 for the Wetlands Protection Act with the conditions as discussed. Kristen,
Aye.
Erica,
Aye.
Fletcher.
Aye.
All right, and I am also an aye. So that motion passes. And since we specified Wetlands Protection Act on that one, I guess we have to do another one for the ordinance.
Can you remind us what number this one is? This, I forget. I'm sorry. Is this
I was
six
gonna
or-
say I'm still unclear of whether we were gonna do.
I think the same. I think the same was unless it
Okay.
specifies act in the language on the original. Mitch, I would just ask if you don't mind adding the exact language that you're pulling from. Sounded like act was in one of these, but it wasn't on the cheat sheet.
I think number 3 has act in it as well. Number 3 says, but will not alter an area subject to protection under the act. When I'm looking in my binder here.
Okay, so I guess our only choice is 6. So I would say let's go with that.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion for negative determination for 177 and 179 Chapman. I hope I got that right.
Yep.
For under condition 6, area work is not subject to additional review and approval by the GCC under the local ordinance.
I'll second
Sec-
that. I always try to beat you to it. You always beat me to it, Erica.
All right. I think Kristen on my
I think- yeah, I
end,
think, yeah, she got
Kristen
that one.
came through that one. All right.
I was
we have
kind
a
of waiting
motion.
to see if Fletcher was done with his motion.
Yeah. So we have a motion type 6, seconded by Kristen. Any other discussion on that? All right, hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote on that. Kristen,
Aye.
Erica,
Aye.
Fletcher.
Aye.
All right, and I'm also an aye. So, okay. So yeah, Mitch will be in touch with the paperwork, and I think there's just there's like a 10-day potential appeals window. And then I think you're good to go after that.
Yeah, 10-day appeal. You can start before then, but it's at your own risk.
Yep. And Mitch will be in touch with all the paperwork.
Okay.
All right. Thanks.
Thanks
All
for
right,
hanging in
thank
there.
you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Next on our agenda, I have public hearing, notice of intent, bank stabilization at the Green River Swimming Area, map 27, lot 18, DEP file number 1688356, continued from October 10th, 2023. I feel like I have that DEP number like memorized by now. Mitch, are we continuing this one again? Are
Yeah,
they
Alan
still
said
not-
hopefully next meeting would be good.
Okay. All right. So our next meeting
I think it's
is
the 14th, but double check.
Oh yeah, we got a couple weeks off. All right. Yeah, it looks like the 14th. Okay, so I'll just motion to continue the public hearing for DEP file number 168-356 to November 14th at 6:30 p.m.
Second.
All right, seconded. Any other discussion on that? All right, so we'll do a roll call vote. Kristen,
Abs-
Erica,
Aye.
Fletcher.
Right.
All right, and I'm also an aye. All right, so that one, hopefully we'll get to that at the next one. All right, so we have one other public hearing tonight. So we'll get to that one. Public hearing, notice of intent, solar project at 340 Leiden Road, map R29, lot 4, DEP file number 168-0357, continued from October 10th, 2023. And again, this is for the construction of ground-mounted dual-use solar array with battery energy storage. And it looks like we have some folks here. I know at our last meeting, there were some questions. There was notes from DEP and things like that. So I don't know if you want to just give us an update. I don't know if you have the like the DEP comments, if you wanted to go through that in your response, or I know there was an updated riverfront area calculation. So maybe if you guys just want to talk about that.
Sure. Good evening, members of the commission. My name is Jeff Murphy, civil engineer with Beals and Thomas. Here with me tonight as well from Beals and Thomas is the project environmental planning specialist, Caroline Booth, as well as the representing the applicant, Colleen DiBenedetto of Volta Solar. So as you had mentioned, since the last time we met, we had received comments from Mass DEP pertaining to the depiction of the riverfront area on the plans, as well as some comments related to stormwater. And we had worked to address those comments and respond to them formally over the last several weeks. So I was just going to run through those comments and our responses to those, and then how they've been addressed on the revised plans and documentation. So I'll just, I guess, pull up the plans on my screen quickly here.
Yep, you should be able to share.
Yep, just give me a second here. Let's see. Oh, I'm on the wrong screen, I think. Give me a second here. Screen one. Okay, can everybody see the site plan?
Yes.
Okay. So as you may recall, we have a proposed ground-mounted solar facility, and the area within Concom jurisdiction is associated with this A and B series wetland here, kind of at the south central portion of the site. So first comment that Mass DEP had pointed out was related to the riverfront area depiction. So upon closer review of the USGS map, they had noted that the riverfront area actually will start at the outlet point of this existing pond, which is off the property to the south. So we've revised that riverfront area to only be off of that point where the stream actually outlets the pond. So subsequently, that riverfront area no longer extends up into the area of the proposed stormwater basin as previously thought. So the project is only located within buffer zone. So we've updated the plans to reflect that. And the next comment that they had related to doing soil testing to confirm these soils within the basins. So on October 11th, we went out and we did 5 test pits, 3 located in detention basin, or infiltration basin 1, and then 2 of test pits in infiltration basin 2 at the west end of the site. And those test pits were done to confirm depth to estimated seasonal high groundwater, as well as the soil textures associated with each of those basins. And we confirmed that we did have the adequate required greater than the 2-foot minimum required offset to seasonal high groundwater. The soil textures that were encountered during the exploration were slightly different than our original design assumptions. So we updated the stormwater calculations to reflect the corresponding Rawls infiltration rate associated with that soil texture. And the basin design will continue to work as originally designed. So I wanted to share a little more zoomed in view here of the basin, so you can see where that is. And the buffer zone here, as you can see, is kind of located just to the north of the basin, and it's situated here at basically the low point at the southeast corner of the existing hayfield. So our limit of work is entirely within the existing tree line, an area that's been mowed and maintained historically. And our basin is located generally to fit the topography and the natural landscape, as well as the drainage patterns that exist out at the site, to really just work with the natural topography and provide infiltration and beneficial recharge to the adjacent wetland areas. And we have the outlet areas of the basin situated at a point farthest from the wetlands. The toe of slope of the basin berm here is generally located about 5 to 7 feet back from the 25-foot no disturb buffer zone to leave room for the sediment control barrier, as well as a little bit of a leveling out area just before the perimeter control barrier. And then the outlet riprap apron is situated about 9 feet back from the 25-foot no disturb zone. And then the outlets themselves are back another 5 feet or so. So we're probably about 34 to 35 feet away from the wetland line here, and then about 40 feet away from the wetland resource area to where the pipe outfalls are. So we provided documentation of the soil test pit logs in the revised stormwater report in attachment A of the report. We note that I think they had some comments related to ongoing operation and maintenance of the basin. We have a site owner's manual associated with the stormwater report that outlines the typical ongoing maintenance procedures for the basin, which includes a maintenance log that's typically completed as an ongoing maintenance item, and part of the ongoing maintenance plan of the solar array. One of the other comments requested confirmation of access to the basins for maintenance. So the detention basin 1 can be accessed primarily from the south. There's going to be a proposed gate here that will allow you to traverse the western edge of the array, and then along the south side of the array and get to the basin from that side. And similarly, from this T turnaround area at the main entrance to the site, there'll also be room around the perimeter to get down to access the basin for periodic seasonal mowing and typical maintenance. And we also updated the stormwater report to go through, just documenting each of the typical LID considerations that are included on the stormwater checklist. So I'd be happy to go through those if you would like, but in general, it's more just documenting the process we went through when working to develop the design of the stormwater basin, which is a fairly straightforward infiltration design. And as noted, we also received, in addition to the Mass DEP comments, we also received a final letter from NAGSP related to the state listed rare species, and the letter indicated that there would be no resulting take or adversely impact the state mapped rare species. So I would now, I guess, open it up to any other questions, or if there's any other things that Caroline or would like to add related to this, but in general, that was that's where we arrived at with our design.
Thank you, Jeff. That was great. Do you mind just leaving this image of the infiltration basin detail up for a second? Because I had a question.
Yeah.
You had said that the infiltration basin was positioned at that kind of southeasterly portion of the solar field because that's topographically optimal. But it looks to me like there is grading involved.
Sure. So yeah, let me just explain that. So as you can see on this plan, that so these light gray dash lines are the existing contours. So as you can see, you know, the water will generally flow perpendicular to those contours downhill in that direction. So you can see by kind of the contour of the land here that the water is kind of getting shed or funneled towards this area naturally, which is how it is under existing conditions. So in order to construct the basin, we basically just have to create a berm. So it's going to be just a level, you know, earthen berm that's going to kind of corral the water as it comes off the hill here. And it's a relatively gentle slope here at the base of the hill. So we're basically just going to build up an earthen berm, and then that water that flows across the, you know, grass meadow of the solar field will get captured here and directed down to this kind of low point, which the bottom of the basin is essentially set at the existing grade. So we're not really cutting down the grade at all. It's more or less allowing it to just flow in the way it is today, but the berm basically will hold back the water, and then we have an outlet control structure here that's going to let me go back to that other sheet. The outlet control structure has a series of cutouts in it. So this is kind of like a front view of the outlet control structure. So it's going to allow water to pond up 4/10 above the bottom of the basin. And then once it reaches that point, it can start to flow out through these various notches in the outlet control structure. And then that flow will then subsequently flow through two 15-inch outlet pipes into a riprap dissipation apron. So it really just tries to, you know, corral the water, and then it releases it in a slow, kind of controlled manner, consistent with the current drainage patterns. And, you know, there's pretty minimal flow that'll come out of the basin, even in the 2 and the 10-year storm. So it's essentially going to be doing what it is today. It's just that we'll be allowing it to infiltrate, you know, pool and infiltrate in this area, which will then kind of feed the hydrology of the wetland consistent with the current drainage patterns.
Thank you. I guess I was wondering if you could explain why you designed that infiltration basin to be within 30 feet of the wetland and not 50 feet or 100 feet from the wetland if you're already using existing topographic kind of subwatershed shedding.
I mean, it's basically an exercise of trying to, you know, work with the features that we have on the site and provide something that's going to reduce the amount of overall grading required. You know, if we're trying to move it elsewhere, we may need to do more grading than what we have currently proposed. So we're trying to just allow the water to flow to the area that it naturally wants to flow, and then just create that berm at the down gradient most point, because that's where the water is naturally getting collected, and it requires the least amount of grading and redirection of water to have it where the water is naturally going right now, if that makes sense.
And then can you just talk about the pretreatment? Are you, I imagine you're meeting all the performance standards, but can you just touch base on that? I don't know if we have any members of the public present, but there have been abutters present who are concerned about this in the past, and I just wanted to make sure we're addressing that publicly in a hearing.
Yeah, I mean, there's really not gonna be, like, once the project is fully constructed and revegetated, I mean, there's really not gonna be any, you know, there shouldn't be any, sedimentation coming off of it. It's gonna revert back to kind of a grass field the way it is today. This is a photo of kind of what it looks like now. So once if the panels are installed and the basin's in place, it's gonna be allowed to kind of revegetate, and everything is going to, be very similar to current existing conditions with respect to the stormwater runoff and treatment. And and the basin itself allows for TSS removal and treatment of water as it's coming off of the site, and the grass vegetation will help that as well.
Can you give us the percent of TSS removal? Are you meeting 80%, 90%?
So yeah, the basin will provide not 80% TSS removal, by virtue of its design, the infiltration basin. And we're not proposing any paved areas that would require, typical methods of treatment. Like, we're not going to have a paved parking lot where you would be required to have, catch basins with sumps and things. It's all going to be vegetated with grass, and our access road is going to be gravel, and it's going to be located on fairly level terrain, and all the runoff from the road is going to be directed to the basins for the most part, within the array area.
I had a couple other questions. Sorry, guys, I'm being an
Go for it.
oxygen hog. So you said you received a comment letter from Natural Heritage. Is that a take avoided through conditions or a no take? I'm not sure.
It was a letter of no take. So we had submitted it for the combined NOI and HESP review. And it was a letter of no take, and they did not provide conditions.
Oh, wow. Okay. And then I just had a question about the dual use agriculture, just because I'm really curious and I haven't seen a whole lot of that. And I'm just curious what your dual use is. Is it hay field, and are you, how high up are the panels?
So I made, perhaps Colleen, you can explain a little more about the proposed dual use aspects.
Sure. Hi, Colleen DiBenedetto. I'm a development manager with Volta Energy. Right now we are considering grazing, or some sort of plant-oriented project. We haven't really come to a decision yet. If you'll note that we, Jeff, if you can just move that site plan a bit to the north.
Yep.
We have provided a turnaround for a shepherd to bring his sheep in periodically to graze. So it's been designed for grazing. However, we have not come to a final decision of what the model will be.
Right, because that's what I'm the most curious about. How high are these panels going to be in order to have a successful dual use?
So it depends. We might need a lower edge of the lowest panel, anywhere between 36 and 4 feet above grade, depending upon the use.
And does that change the stormwater runoff calcs at all, Jeff?
No, so the stormwater is basically the same regardless of the panel height, because really you're just looking at the ground cover type underneath the panel, which is still going to be a grass meadow.
So it doesn't
But
affect
does
like a drip line or anything like that? Because I imagine if a panel is significantly higher off the ground and it's a tilted thing, that could affect maybe like a drip line, which we don't have gravel line drip pads, so. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I mean, it really isn't ever an issue for the most part. I mean, once the site gets fully revegetated with grass, I mean, anything that drips off is going to kind of just be dispersed into the grass vegetation. So I don't anticipate there being any issues with drip associated impacts.
On that note, does I imagine the panels are tilted south, which
Yep. So the
And-
low side would be on the south side here, and then the high side would be on the north. Yeah, so they would
And
be
they're-
set at a tilt.
and they're not tracking their stationary panels. Like they don't track the sun at all.
That's correct. These are fixed panels.
Okay, and then, but I'm just curious, doesn't the runoff, doesn't rain running off the panels accelerate the sheet flow moving down the hill?
I mean, no, not really. I mean, it's just anything that hits the panels, like and runs to the low side of the panels is gonna, drip off in kind of random droplets. It's not gonna be any sort of concentrated, situation. Like once the vegetation grows in, it's just gonna be like a drop of rain falling from the sky. It's just more coming off the edges of the panels in a line of droplets, more or less.
Well,
I
that's
see.
kind of why you have to have stormwater. If that was true, you wouldn't have to have any stormwater management, correct?
Well, the reason that we have the stormwater BMPs on this project is that we are relocating the existing gravel driveway. So because which kind of runs through the middle of the site right now. So the goal was to create a contiguous array footprint. So it's really only associated with the change in cover type, associated with the addition, the relocation of the gravel driveway. So that was the reason why we have the stormwater BMPs. As well as, this turnaround and equipment pad area, so.
So I was just gonna add, we got a little far away from this, but we do have a copy of that letter, Kristen, saying that there would not be a take. It says will not result in a prohibited take. We have that in our Google Drive files. And I just wanted to point out that it also says the division recommends the applicant incorporate as appropriate the mowing advisory guidelines and rare turtle habitat, pastures, successional fields, and hay fields into the project operations management plan. I guess I was just curious if those are being incorporated into the plan.
Currently they're not being incorporated only because, I mean, as far as I'm aware, I don't even know what this site is mapped for. I think there was just a recommendation because it is currently field habitat here. And the NHESP habitat is actually located, Jeff, do you want to just point to it?
Yeah, it's this
Largely
dashed line.
outside of the limit of work. But it is something that if the commission felt comfortable asking us to address that as a condition of approval, I think that would be all right as long as the guidelines line up with the intent of the dual use. Because the project can't be permitted as a dual use project and move forward under the dual use guidelines without being a dual use with the agriculture and the solar array.
And any other
Travis,
Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, do you have a kind of a printout there of what their mowing
The
recommendations or
mowing
whatever
guidelines
their
are.
guidelines are? I mean, is it something
Yeah,
that's really?
if I could share my screen, I could show you. So I'll just show you. So in the, this is the letter. It says it will not result in a take, will not adversely affect habitat. And then here's where it says the mowing thing, and then there's a link. And so I click that link and it takes you to this these guidelines. It sounds like basically there's like timing on when to mow.
Yeah, that is typical. And I think that sorry, Travis, not to
No, go
cut
ahead.
you off if you were in the middle of a thought.
No.
And I think that, like we mentioned, it's really just that small sliver that's within this habitat. So if it was to limit mowing times in that area, I can't speak for Colleen, but I think that that would be something that would be able to be addressed.
I'd just like to add that currently this field is actively hayed. I think the landowner gets 2 cuts a year. So if the commission would consider that the landowner continue to have the field hayed, giving his conventional standards until such time that we commission the solar array. I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Mhm. Yeah, and they do have a section in here, this land with multiple uses. If it has secondary management objectives, including farmland, and so it has like elevating the mowing deck 7 or 12 inches during the first haying of the season will reduce mortality. Shorter cuts late summer, second harvest are less likely to impact turtles. So it does kind of have those considerations in there as well.
I just have 2 comments on that. One is that, yes, the landowner may be haying following his agricultural conventions, but this is a land use change. But also number 2 is we don't have jurisdiction over the whole farm field. We only have jurisdiction over what we have jurisdiction over. So we can't really say what they can and can't do for their OMP. That's up to Heritage, and we can only say what they can do in jurisdiction under the commission. So
just comment, it seemed like if they actually did the grazing thing, that would sort of take care of all these things. You won't have to worry about how mowing and running anything over or whatever.
Probably safer for the turtles.
Yeah.
And I will also say, Colleen, I don't know how many dual use solar projects you have going on, but I think they're pretty uncommon. And I know that there are a couple herds and shepherds around, but be great to see more of that stuff.
Thanks. We intend to do more.
Ask if I know that we had the letter from DEP with their questions and then answers. Can you just put it up just to make sure? Can we just make sure that everything was addressed? And it sounded like it was, but
yeah. So
exactly.
let me. Okay, so this was the DEP letter. Commission needs to wait to close the public hearing until NHESP has issued its determination. That already happened, and we just saw the letter. 2 was about the riverfront not being correct. Plans should be updated. That has also been fixed.
Oh, did we look at BLSF? Is there any BLSF? Jeff and Caroline, did you guys look at that?
Yeah,
Yes.
Do the plans illustrate the flood zone, the elevation?
I believe the flood zone is limited to like the very far side of the site. Hang on, I was just pulling it up via Mass Mapper. It's just easier for me to
Like
see
the
it
west,
that way.
the western side
Yeah,
near
it's
the river.
closest to the river
So
area.
not in the limit of work? There's,
No,
okay, all right. So as long as you guys
That's
looked
where
at
the
that
river
and it's
is.
illustrated on the plans and there is no BLSF, we don't have to worry about that. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. And then number 3, or that was, wait, sorry, where were we? Yeah, number 3, the commission only has jurisdiction for basin number 1, as that is the only one within jurisdiction. Number 4, stormwater report is not adequate for permitting. One cannot model stormwater without confirming actual soil type. Soils professional needs to do a site visit, and that did happen. Number 5, basin 1 cannot be called an infiltration basin as insufficient information was submitted in the stormwater report.
So we provided all the soil testing information, and the soil testing results are included in the stormwater report, and our design was updated based upon those findings and substantiated that the design does in fact work as originally proposed and addresses all the DEP stormwater requirements for the design of the basin.
Anyone have any other questions on that one?
That was
That's a
one of
long
my
one.
questions earlier. I just wanted to make sure that all of the performance standards were being addressed because we don't really have time to review page by page a 500-page hydrocad analysis and stormwater report. So I was just asking Bills and Thomas earlier if they met all those performance standards, and they said that they did. So that was my only question.
And then number 6 is the regulations require that proponents shall consider environmentally sensitive site design that incorporates low impact development techniques in addition to stormwater best management practices. Each technique must be reviewed, and why or why not each technique could or could not be used in the stormwater report. And we did get that. I don't remember which.
Yeah, if there's at least a checklist, that would be fast. We wouldn't have to go through the whole.
So the checklist, yeah, these items are listed on the stormwater checklist, and I basically listed out those checklist boxes and like basically provided a rationale or evaluation of each one. There were only certain ones that we had checked based upon the project design, but I explained, item by item, which ones applied to our design and which ones we, looked at or considered in our design. So I don't know if you want to go through those, or
do we need to go through them line by line, or let me just have them on here to review if you see anything. The green roof one made me chuckle a little because I was imagining putting putting plants on top of a solar panel. That wouldn't really work very well.
One day.
I think that'd be called raised beds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was the last of the DEP comments. Any other questions from the commissioners, or I could open it up to public comments? All right, I'll go ahead and open it up if there are any members of the public here who'd like to comment. I don't think there's anyone here. Hearing none, we'll close the public comment period. Anyone have any Questions, concerns, anything they want to look at again? Site plans?
Was this
I-
the project that was gonna plant some red theaters or something or something? No, maybe that was a different project. I don't know. Might have gotten the projects mixed up.
There are red cedars proposed. I mean, they're largely proposed for screening. It's one of the only things the deers won't eat. That will
So-
survive. There is a couple of them
Zone on
located
here.
within the buffer zone there. As we noted though, there won't be any trees taken down, so it will just once they're established, it will just be an additional like vegetated buffer along that edge.
Okay.
Do we want to
Yep.
require native plantings within jurisdiction?
Sorry, Kristen, could you start that again?
Oh, I was just gonna say, I was just curious if Erica, you were getting at whether you wanted to ask for native plantings within buffer zone?
Mostly I was getting at where exactly they were going and where's the little area that there are a few trees coming down? Is that where the road is
So-
being moved?
Yeah, so that's like outside of the 100-foot buffer zone, but you are
Okay.
correct. It's that area where the driveway will kind of spur off there to the northwest. There's like kind of a hedgerow of some trees there, and those will be you know, there's a few trees that'll have to be removed to relocate that driveway.
Well, back to Kristen, are those native?
Is
Red
that something
cedars?
the planning board was requiring for Vista screening?
It is a zoning requirement.
Does it have to be coniferous, or does it, like, why did you pick that species?
She said because that was the one that wouldn't get eaten.
Yeah, that was the so this was selected by one of our landscape architects who is more familiar with this than I am. They just tend to have a better survival rate for establishing, especially in these areas that are already wooded.
Yeah, no doubt arborvitae get gobbled up by deer, and we hate arborvitae, so no complaints that they're not arborvitae.
Any other questions or comments, or anyone want to make a motion?
I just want to clarify for myself that I know we talked about this after the motion, but there's no, we haven't talked about any special conditions, it sounds like, if we were to issue an order. Got it. I'm not convinced that commissioners don't have any other questions, or else I'd make a motion.
Any other questions? Going once,
Good.
going twice?
All right. I'll make a motion. Actually, I was going to make a motion for an order of conditions, but that's not. Is that the
Yeah,
next step?
issuing an order of conditions.
Right.
Oh, well,
Make a motion-
first we have to close the public. I think first you're supposed
there
to
we
make
go.
a motion to close the public hearing and then
Thank you.
then
That's
issue
what I
the
was
resolution.
vaguely
Sorry.
remembering. Make a motion to close the public hearing for 340 Leiden Road solar project.
Second.
All right. Any other discussion on that? I don't think there's discussion on that. All right, so we'll vote, close the public hearing. Fletcher?
Aye.
Erica?
Aye.
Kristen?
Aye.
All right, and I'm also an aye. So the public hearing is closed at 7:55 p.m.
All right. I'll make a motion to issue an order of conditions for solar project at 340 Leiden Road.
Second.
All right, any other discussion? As Fletcher said, it didn't sound like there were any special conditions that we had in mind, really.
What did we have? Did we have a discussion about as-built before? Are we
Mm.
requiring them? Are we not requiring them? Is that in our boilerplate?
It's in our boilerplate as required.
Okay.
Mitch, do you think you could bring up the list of, because I remember we might want to look at what the exact language was about as built.
Yeah, I think it just says as built, doesn't specify anything else.
I think it mentions something about like a professional engineer
Yeah,
or
let
something
me
like
pull
that.
it up.
Yeah, like an RE or land surveyor, not the electrical as-built, but the actual physical as-built required for a certificate of compliance.
Do you all think it would just be for the area within the jurisdiction, I guess?
I think so.
That's a good point. I've always had to prepare them for the whole project, but that's a good point.
I mean, I don't know if we're the only body requiring as built, so
That's true.
they might need them for the entire project anyway.
What about during construction? It's definitely going to be over an acre. They're going to have a SWIP. Do we care about construction monitoring reporting or anything like that? I mean, they're not clearing trees. There is grading, but there will be soil disturbance. I don't personally see any need for third-party reporting, but something for the commissioners to think about.
Hmm.
Yeah, I personally would be comfortable with any inspections that Mitch does. I don't know if this triggers where it triggers that, but and that would be. Mitch, do we have any? Oh, sorry. I see
That
you.
language about as built sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mitch,
Any
I
other?
think I was just gonna say, Mitch, I think there is a standard condition we have about the conservation agent can do site visits or something like that. Just
Yeah, we're
because
gonna have
just because someone
access
asked that.
to it. Yeah. It's at the top somewhere. Members or agent have right to enter, inspect the property.
So I guess again, we would, if there isn't a specific condition in here specifying when, during what phase the agent or commission would do it. If we did,
I think that's any time from when it's approved until they get a certificate of compliance.
right?
Yeah, just routinely. Otherwise, it's the reactivity meeting where inspect erosion controls and make sure all the pre-construction conditions are met.
Yeah, there was like a pre-construction and post-construction visit, right?
Right.
Mhm.
I mean, I feel like our standard conditions probably cover
Yeah, I agree.
most of what we would want for
Yeah,
this
that's great.
project. I
I
guess,
like number 16.
yeah, another thing I was thinking with this project that this hasn't anything to do with a condition, but I was just thinking about how the 25-foot no disturb zone is probably like one of the most impactful things we have on our local ordinance, because all these projects like automatically get moved back behind, 25 feet away, which is good. I guess I just wanted to point out how I was glad that we had that.
Are you thinking that there should be some kind of monumentation at that 25 foot?
No. I'm just saying, like, in general, I'm glad that when projects come before us, like, they're already moved back 25 feet away from resource areas. Whereas if we didn't have I'm not saying they need to do anything here. I'm just, when I was, when you were asking why is it 25 feet away and not 50, I was thinking, well, it's 25 feet away because we require it to be at least 25 feet away. And, the further away they get, the fewer solar panels they get. So maximizing the area.
There's a
Uh,
boilerplate about marking the 25-foot.
I think like during construction though, right? Not like permanently.
Permanently clearly mark 25-foot no disturbance.
I think because it's so close to the 25 foot, I could see that being warranted. But devil's advocate, I mean, I could see that being especially important if this was near a parking lot where there was going to be snow removal and you wanted to make
Yeah.
really sure that there was no like soil stockpiling or sand stockpiling or something. And this is solar. So I could go either way on that. And I hate to put rebar down, you know.
I guess just a question for
Signage.
that, just a question for the applicant, if there were any, I guess we typically ask for the 25-foot no disturb zone to be um marked, and if there was any plan for that, or if that would be possible in any way. I don't know, like what.
I think typically staking or flagging of those areas is appropriate. So if that's better to have it staked for the purposes of construction rather than permanently marking it to avoid, impacts that don't need to be.
Mhm.
Well, I think it would need to be staked anyways during construction. Are you asking about something more long lasting, Travis?
Yeah, I mean, Mitch made it sound like, yeah, I didn't really remember, but that we typically ask for it to be permanently marked. Is that right, Mitch?
Yeah, I'll pull it up. Yeah, I'll permanently clearly mark the 25-foot no disturbance setback within 50 feet of the limit of work.
Hmm.
So, like with signage,
It's very vague.
This is the one I think we've used when we've had like like houses and we've had them put boulders or whatever, or because they're
Yeah.
mowing into the 25 foot and stuff.
I do think that it's important to have some kind of demarcation up for construction, but I kind of like you were just saying, Erica, if this isn't like someone's backyard where they're going to slowly encroach and put a swing set and a vegetable garden or a, residential development or some kind of thing where they're going to be like creeping up on snow storage or sand stockpiling. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I could see signage working better than something like rebar, but I don't know. What do you guys think?
I mean, I was almost gonna say maybe for this project, just strike the word permanently. So it just says before work, clearly mark the 25-foot no disturbance zone.
I would agree with
I
that.
I don't think it necessarily has to be
Yeah.
permanently on this site.
And yeah, I was just thinking some type of flagged or highlighted stakes, wooden stakes would probably be.
Yeah.
Yeah, because once
Definitely.
that security fence goes up, I mean, and
Right.
construction's over, their limit of work is gonna be very clearly encircled in that security fence.
Right.
Okay. So if
Yeah,
there are
that's
no
what it is.
if there are no objections, we'll strike the word permanently from that condition. Okay. Any other discussion on any conditions, or should we vote on
I just wanted to note for the commission that there is a standard general condition under the Wetlands Protection Act that allows the agent or members of the commission and the Department of Environmental Protection to enter and inspect the area subject to the order under reasonable hours, et cetera, et cetera. So just wanted to note that that is covered under a general condition if you wanted to review that.
Okay. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I think in that conditions we were just looking at, I think it referenced that. I think it said like as per whatever. But yeah, yeah. Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote on the motion to issue an order of conditions for 340 Leiden Road, DEP, file number 1680357, with the minor additions to the our boilerplate conditions as discussed. Erica,
Bye.
Fletcher,
Aye.
Kristen.
I,
All right, I am also an aye. So we will be issuing an order of conditions. All right, thank you to the applicants.
Yeah, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, and Mitch will be in touch with that paperwork.
Yep.
Okay, so that's the end of our public meetings and public hearings for this meeting. So next under other business and enforcement updates, there was a thing about ATVs at Lillian Street Conservation Area. I don't, Mitch, do you want to kind of tell us what that was about?
Yeah, so just someone, I guess, heard motor vehicles being used. He wasn't sure which properties were ours, but it sounded like all of these wooded properties here. He said they might be entering from way up by the right of way, coming all the way down. I was thinking for now a sign, but we do have a sign there that says no motor vehicles.
Mhm.
So I'm not sure the next step, but figured we should just talk about it, bring it to your attention.
Yeah.
What could be done.
You said you went out there and it wasn't no signs of like trail erosion from them, or
No, yeah, no, everything looked normal.
I would say personally, if if you scheduled on your calendar like a visit in the spring, sort of maybe a April visit or something to check on it, that might be a good idea. But if we've already posted no motorized vehicles, I mean, there's really only so much you can do with ATV style trespass,
Yeah, no one's gonna
short of rock
waiting.
barriers, which
Right.
will still, yeah. So
what about like a fallen tree? Can they get over that? Are we talking dirt bikes or like
that's
four
just more
wheeler?
fun.
Okay,
Yeah.
don't know
This
about
is a
that.
big tree.
Well,
Okay.
that would probably help with snowmobiles or something, but
Yeah.
Sounds like
I
he
get-
wasn't sure. He didn't see them
Snowmobiles though are
before.
probably okay. If
Mm.
well, maybe not by the book, but as far as erosion and damage.
How
goes.
much, yeah, damage they do, yeah.
Yeah, I think it says no motorized vehicles. So,
Right.
and Mitch, I think the sign is like out at Lillian Street, right? Like
Yeah, it's like right at the entrance, like in here.
yeah,
So
yeah. I mean, I guess this to me, this kind of goes back to where, um, at some point, I'd like to get to, uh,
Boundary
doing
marking.
like boundary markers and
mhm.
maybe if there's a trail that comes in from off property, maybe, a little sign that just says like what's allowed
Yep.
on conservation property. I think
Yeah,
that's probably
something
the best thing we could do.
right.
That's true. I
marker
mean, they may
boundary.
not know that it's,
That's where
you
they're
know,
coming in.
that it's
Yeah,
conservation property. They're just driving around and,
yeah, yeah.
um,
Mitch, have you had a chance to check out any potential boundary marker orders or anything?
Yeah, we should get back into that.
Yeah.
I'll see if I can get some quotes next time we have time.
That'd
Okay.
be good.
Do,
Yeah, it'd be
do we
good to
have a
have.
design or no?
Yeah, we can go over that if we just want to say conservation area, what we want. Like
Mhm.
no motor vehicles.
Well, yeah, I
On
would
some of
think they'd
them.
be separate. Like we'd have a
Yeah, right.
standard boundary marker for the commission and then other signage as needed. But I just didn't know if Greenfield Conservation Commission had. I mean, I doubt we have a digital file of it, but maybe we have some existing ones out there that I can't remember that we could sort of
Yeah, I have
roughly.
one like pinned. I just don't know where it came from.
Okay.
I have one.
Okay.
I thought there were some out at Griswold. Do you remember,
Yeah,
Christine?
I think there are some out there.
That's where I remember seeing them. Yeah, but I don't remember what they looked like.
Yeah.
I think they just said Greenfield Conservation Area or something like that.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Which is really, yeah. I think we'd want to get a bunch of those, and we could use them at like all of our sites, or
Mhm.
Yeah.
some of them, and then maybe some smaller like rectangular signs, or or bigger than the boundary marker, but some rectangular signs that just say Greenfield Conservation Land, and then like what uses are allowed or not allowed, I guess.
Mhm.
Yep.
But yeah,
Back on that land, I mean, what the complaint, did they say, I mean, are they hearing them frequently or is it one time or did they say?
Yeah, it sounded like more than once.
yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, it's kind of hard. This is where like, conservation land management is a hard thing,
Hmm.
right? How do you enforce these things? I mean, technically, I think people can be fined, but if you're not out there when they're doing it, how are
Yeah,
you
the
how are you
Right,
gonna find
right.
them?
The state has
And
a whole environmental police division, and they can't
yeah,
figure it out. So I think
Let's
it's
just make
like,
sure it's posted.
yeah,
yeah, I think
Hmm.
posting and then, if it really was like a big problem with like erosion and stuff, like I think that's where maybe you start to get into what kind of barriers can you put up
Yeah.
to try
yeah,
and make it more difficult.
yep.
But it sounds like it's not really a big erosion problem or anything at this point.
Yeah, it sounds good
So
now, I think. More boundary markers assigned and just inspecting it more frequently
yeah,
now. Yeah.
Yeah. And Mitch, if you need any help laying out the boundary marker design, like the digital file, let me know.
Sure. Yeah. Sounds
I
good.
can do that and send it over to you with the bleeds and all that for the printers.
cool. All right. So next on the agenda, outreach to fill Conservation Commission seat vacancy. Um,
I got something on that.
oh,
Um,
go ahead.
at the start of our there was a member of the public whose name I recognized, and so I texted them, and they unfortunately had to go because they're in New York at a conference, but they say that they were joining because they're very interested in participating on the Conservation Commission, and they're a Greenfield resident.
Awesome.
Her name is Elizabeth Garofalo, and she, last I knew, worked for the University of Massachusetts Agricultural Research Extension. She's
Great.
got a master's degree in agricultural kind of research. I believe her experience is in fruit. I want to say apples. But knowledgeable in wetland science and ecology, and Greenfield resident. And unfortunately, she's not here, but I figured I would just give her a brief introduction because I do know her personally.
That's great.
Yep.
Sounds good.
And
Yeah.
And that's an area we, yeah.
oh, now I was just going to add that I've been emailing with her since
Oh.
October 13th. She sent me an email um, saying that she was interested, and Mark Maloney, FERCog, is the one who told her about the vacancy, I guess. And so she was interested. She did say she was away for a conference, but might, check in on the meeting, and had questions about like time commitments. And Mitch and I, were telling her about like site visits, and she said, I do enjoy a good site visit. So, um, so yeah, got a good lead there. Um, Mitch, have you heard anything from Joan, I think was who was at the last meeting?
Yeah, no, I haven't heard anything. I
Okay.
did send her an invite to this meeting.
Okay. And she said, I mean, at the last meeting, she said she was going to come to this meeting, but maybe something came up. So maybe we'll see. Maybe we'll see both of them at the next meeting.
That would be cool because I think they both sound pretty good.
Yeah.
In different ways. So
Mhm.
It'd be nice to have an agricultural experience on the commission as
Yeah.
well.
yeah, and I liked that Joan had a legal background because not only for the legal aspect, but also because she argued for a living, so she's not afraid to, ask for things. Applicants can always say no if it's beyond our jurisdiction, but sometimes you get more when you ask for more. So having somebody who's got a professional career of arguing for a living may not be the worst thing in the world. I don't know.
And being able to speak legalese is no small thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And having the like institutional knowledge from previous Greenfield Conservation Commission experience.
That's a good point too. Yeah, I forgot about that.
So yeah. I guess Mitch, if you could send both of them like the next meeting invite too, when that comes around.
Yeah, sounds good.
Just keep them in the loop and keep them interested. All right. Fletcher, I don't know if you had any updates about.
Haven't heard back. I could put together that like flyer, FERCog, Allison Gage was saying that if we had some type of like material to send her, she could potentially post that on Instagram and that type of thing, or carry it to stakeholder events, which I can do. You guys can sort of vet it if you want. So, but I don't know if we want to put out a flyer per se, if that's appropriate. So, kind of up to you all.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, at this point, we have two people who are interested, and
yeah, do you want to kind of
one vacancy right now? And
yeah, and that was the flyer thing was just like an added.
Yeah,
like Allison can still spread the word, but yeah. But as far as other people I've reached out to, I haven't heard any feedback. So I don't know. Have you heard anything from emails or anything?
No, I mean, I guess at this point, I'm kind of banking on the people that we've got interested right now, and then if that falls through, then maybe kick it into a higher gear after that. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that sounds
That's
like a
my
plan.
thought. Okay. All right, anyone have anything else on that? Okay, next on the agenda is any topics not reasonably anticipated 48 hours in advance of the posting of this agenda. I didn't have any last minute things come up.
I got nothing.
Okay, any enforcement updates
No updates.
or project monitoring, site visit scheduling?
Nope.
Okay. It sounds like the next meeting we might have the Green River project, bank stabilization. That would be good to get that moving along for their sake and,
Yeah.
not having to keep continuing it. All right, so our next meeting is Tuesday, November 14th, 6:30 p.m. That's our agenda.
I'm finally off schedule with Amherst, which is so nice.
Anyone
I
want a
think we have till
motion to
tomorrow
adjourn?
to sign up for the
Back.
MACC thing.
Oh, yeah. Yep, I think that's this weekend, right?
Yeah, I think I have till tomorrow before it. Oh, I was thinking about there's some hybrid online ones,
Mm.
because I'm not sure I could do the whole day.
Yeah.
So
Are you guys all on Mark Stinson's newsletter listserv?
No.
No,
I don't think so.
You should be, because sometimes he sends out notifications for like I don't know, he hasn't done it in a while, but like a lunch and learn or like a happy hour regulatory Q&A thing, and it's super casual and it's
Mhm.
just like virtual, and just can shoot the breeze about what's the difference between mean annual high water and top of bank or whatever. It's just different things every
Mhm.
whenever, and consultants
Nice.
and commissioners can join. And he also has really interesting notes in his newsletter about like ecological stuff or full moon stuff. I don't know, it's random, but he's just got a great newsletter. You should be on it.
Do we just have to email him and request to be on it?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Highly recommend it.
All right.
Cool.
We didn't actually adjourn.
Good
did
heads
we?
up.
No, we haven't adjourned yet.
No. I will motion to adjourn because I'm always the one who's the most tired and always motion to adjourn first.
All right. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All right. All in favor of adjourning?
All right.
Aye. All right. We're adjourned at 8:23 p.m.
All right,
All
guys.
All right. Good
All
night.
right. Thanks.
Good night, everyone.